September 18th, 1944. A German general stares at a map, his fingers tracing a line toward victory. For the first time in months, he believes he can win. 58 brand new Panther tanks, the deadliest machines on the Western Front. A 2-day window to destroy Patton's overextended army. By every calculation, this should have worked. But General Hassan Montefiore didn't know. Phil was leading his brigade into a trap built from fog, speed, and a weapon the German mind could never comprehend. This is the story of Arracourt, where superior armor met a factory that moved at 50 miles per hour. General Hassan Montefiore was not a fanatic. At 51, he was a pragmatist, a master of armored warfare who had survived Russia and North Africa. He had watched armies collapse. He knew the Wehrmacht was bleeding on 2 fronts. But on this September morning, he held what looked like a winning hand under his command. The 113th Panzer Brigade, not the battered remnants from Normandy. This was Hitler's new fire brigade. Fresh formations. Tanks so new some crews were still learning their turret mechanisms. 58 brand new Panthers. The math was cold and precise. A Panther could kill a Sherman from 2,000 meters away. American shells bounced off sloped armor like ping-pong balls. The Sherman's 75mm gun, merely ineffective at range. Montefiore studied his fuel calculations. 600,000 liters? Enough for 2 days of intensive operations? 2 days. That's all he needed. His objective was elegant. Slice into Patton's exposed right flank. The Third Army was overextended. Fuel lines stretched across 400 kilometers. Tanks scattered across 180 kilometers of front. Montefiore would concentrate his 58 Panthers and punch directly at the 4th Armored Division. Cut off Patton's spearheads. Destroy them in detail. Force the Americans to halt their entire advance. By all conventional military logic, this should have worked. Superior tanks. Concentrated numbers. Absolute surprise. The Americans had no idea a fresh Panzer Brigade was assembling in the forests of Lorraine. But Montefiore was making a fatal assumption. He believed tank battles were decided by armor thickness and gun caliber. He had no idea what was waiting in the fog. 7:30 a.m., September 19th. The lead elements of the 113th Panzer Brigade began their march. Then nature intervened. A thick, heavy fog rolled across the Lorraine fields like a living thing. Visibility dropped to 50 yards, then 30. Tank commanders peered through periscopes, seeing nothing. Drivers could barely see the tank ahead. Montefiore's greatest advantage, the Panther's long-range killing power, instantly evaporated. A 2,000-meter kill shot requires sight. These Panthers couldn't see 50 meters. The fire brigade was blind. 15 kilometers away, Colonel Bruce Clark received reports. Heavy engine noise. Large formations. Moving west. Clark didn't have heavy tanks. He had the 37th Tank Battalion, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Creighton Abrams, a name that would one day adorn America's main battle tank. Abrams didn't panic. He realized instantly. The fog was an equalizer, a catastrophic one. If the Germans couldn't see at 2,000 yards, their superior guns were useless. This was going to be a knife fight in a phone booth. Speed and reaction time were everything. The German column advanced through the mist. Tank engines roaring. Tracks clanking. Commanders hunched in their cupolas. They expected to crush the American picket line. Instead, the lead Panther suddenly erupted in flames. Turret exploding outward. Then the second Panther, then the third. German crews panicked. Radio discipline collapsed. Tank commanders slewed their turrets left and right, desperately searching for muzzle flashes. But there were none visible. The shots were hitting them from the flanks, punching through the thinner side armor. German voices crackled in confusion. Enemy to the left. No, enemy right. Where is the enemy? They had walked into a swarm. Enter the M18 Hellcat tank destroyer. To a German tanker, it looked like a joke. Almost no armor. A heavy machine gun could penetrate its thin turret. Open top, leaving crews exposed. By Wehrmacht standards, it was a suicide machine. But the Hellcat had one statistic Montefiore completely ignored. Power-to-weight ratio. 17 tons. Powered by a radial aircraft engine producing 350 horsepower. Road speed, 55 miles per hour. Faster than any tank in the world. No Panther. No Tiger, no Soviet T-34 could match it. The Hellcat could relocate faster than a medium tank could rotate its turret. In the fog of Arracourt, this speed became the ultimate weapon. The German Panthers advanced in rigid formation, like Roman legionaries. Coordinated tactics require visibility. In communication, the fog destroyed both. The American Hellcats fought like wolf packs, individual hunters, autonomous, coordinated not by proximity, but by radio. The engagement unfolded in deadly repetition. A Hellcat platoon from the 704th Tank Destroyer Battalion would hear Panthers approaching. The commander would plot positions, race to a flank position, wait, engines idling, gunner's hand on the firing mechanism. They would wait until the German behemoths rolled past, exposing vulnerable sides. 3 high-velocity 76mm rounds slammed into a Panther's side. Penetration. Fire. The Panther's turret would slew left, trying to engage. But the Hellcat was already moving, reversing at full throttle. 300 yards in seconds. Relocating to the next ambush position. Before surviving German tanks could complete their turret rotation, the Hellcats had vanished. It was a clash of philosophies. Germans built armored fortresses. Americans built vehicles to never be there when the hit arrived.
By noon, the fog lifted. Montefiore ordered his commanders to push harder. But as the sun burned off the mist, the Germans realized the second trap had closed. The sky above Arracourt tore open. Not airplanes, something far more precise. American artillery executing time on target, revolutionary mathematics. A centralized fire direction center calculated flight times from 12 batteries positioned miles apart. Each battery fired at different moments, but every single shell arrived at the target coordinates at the exact same instant. Piper Cub spotter planes circled overhead, calling down coordinates. For the 113th Panzer Brigade, there was no warning. 1 second, infantry were advancing. The next, the air disintegrated. Dozens of airburst shells detonated simultaneously at 30 feet. Shrapnel fell like razor-sharp rain. The Panzer Grenadiers were decimated. The shrapnel didn't scratch Panther armor, but it stripped the Panthers of something more valuable, their eyes and ears. External radios destroyed, antennas mangled. Command and control disintegrated. The German tanks were buttoned up, commanders blind, isolated. A blind tank without infantry support is a dead tank. By afternoon, the battlefield was littered with burning Panthers. But the most shocking statistic wasn't tanks destroyed by fire. It was tanks that simply stopped. The 111th Panzer Brigade ran out of fuel before reaching the battle. Germany had designed the most sophisticated tank in history: superior optics, interleaved road wheels, high-velocity cannon. But they couldn't produce liquid fuel to move 58 machines 20 kilometers. Meanwhile, American recovery crews towed damaged Shermans to mobile repair depots during several battle. Tanks knocked out in the morning returned to the line by evening. The factory was winning. September 22nd, Montefiore issued orders to retreat. The great counterattack had failed. Final accounting: 50 Panthers lost versus 25 American vehicles. The 113th Panzer Brigade had ceased to exist. Arracourt proved a brutal truth. A superior weapon is useless if it's blind, unsupported, unable to move, and outmaneuvered by swarms of lighter vehicles with superior coordination. The Germans built warrior knights in shining armor. The Americans built a factory that moved at 50 miles per hour, a factory with radios, spare engines, ammunition, fuel. And in the fog of Lorraine, the factory won. This wasn't just about courage. Both sides had courage. This was the triumph of a system where speed, mobility, and spare parts mattered more than individual warrior excellence. The battle that revealed why Germany lost, not through lack of bravery, but because wars are won in factories, not on battlefields. This was Arracourt, where the future defeated the past.